As we saw in the last episode, the owner of the Moon Knight Parlor agreed to meet Sahan. So let's begin today's episode. At the start of the episode, we see the parlor's captain, named Sayuk, bringing Sahan inside the owner's room. Inside the room, we see the owner sitting with his two servants. Just then, Sayuk arrives with Sahan. Sayuk says to the owner, "I have brought this boy." Before the owner can say anything, Sahan walks straight to a chair and sits down without permission. Seeing this, the owner gets furious and thinks, "How arrogant is this kid? Is he from some big clan?" Then, the owner of the night parlor says to Sahan, "I don't know why you have come here, but I do know that it's quite late. So, why don't we have a drink?" Hearing this, Sahan agrees. One of the owner's servants serves Sahan a drink, which he consumes without hesitation. Seeing Sahan drink it without a second thought, the parlor owner smirks inwardly. This boy is such a fool. He drank it without even thinking. After all, he's just a kid. He knows nothing about the outside world. I was getting scared of him for no reason. Then we see Sahan finishing his glass. Suddenly, he realizes something and exclaims, "These bastards! They poisoned my wine!" His eyes start turning red. The camera shifts to the parlor owner who, upon seeing Sahan's reaction, starts laughing and asks, "So how did you like the wine? Did you enjoy it?" Hearing this, Sahan smirks and replies, "Yeah, it was quite good. Can I get another glass?" The owner, grinning, says, "Oh, so you want another glass? Why not?" and thinks, "This kid really is a fool." A female servant serves another glass of wine to Sahan. Meanwhile, the parlor owner asks, "So what brings you here?" Sahan casually replies, "Oh yes, I did come here for a reason." Hearing this, the owner smirks and thinks, "This bastard kid, well, it doesn't matter anyway, he's going to die soon." Then, Sahan looks at the owner and says, "I want to ask you something." Suddenly, he releases his killing intent and coldly asks, "Who had the audacity to poison my drink?" Hearing this, even the palace owner starts getting nervous. He wonders, the poison we used was colorless and tasteless, so how did he find out? Then, he thinks, but it doesn't matter. The poison is already inside him, and it's too late now. He starts laughing loudly and asks, "How did you even know that your wine was poisoned?" Sahan, with an innocent smile, replies, "How could I not know? I was the one who drank it after all." Hearing this ridiculous response, the owner becomes furious and yells, "You arrogant brat!" But Sahan remains unaffected. Seeing this, the owner gets angrier and orders his servants to leave the room. Once the female servants exit, the owner, now in a more devious tone, says, "Kid, I know you will understand me. If a stranger comes to meet me, shouldn't I be cautious?" He bursts into laughter. After laughing for a while, he continues, "But don't worry, kid. I will definitely give you the antidote, but that depends on your behavior." Hearing all this, Sahan just smiles and replies, "I don't need your useless antidote." The owner, taken aback, says, "Oh, you don't need the antidote? You're trying to bluff, aren't you? But let me tell you, your arrogance won't work here." Sahan smirks and says, "Bluff? Why would I fool you when you're already a fool?" Hearing this, the owner's face turns red with anger. Seeing the owner fuming, Sahan says, "Now it's my turn. Sit quietly." He then releases an overwhelming killing intent. Witnessing this, the owner asks, "You're not poisoned?" Just then, we see a scene outside the door where all the guards suddenly collapse, poisoned. Seeing his guards fall, the parlor's captain and the owner become confused and panic. The owner screams, "What the hell is happening?" The scene then shifts to the captain, who wonders what's going on outside. But before he can react, he also falls to his knees, struggling to breathe. Seeing the captain in such a state, the owner, trembling, asks Sayuk, "W, what happened to you now?" Sayuk, barely able to speak, mutters, "Poison." The owner, confused, says, "Poison? But we poisoned that kid. You fool." Suddenly, the owner's eyes start turning red as well, and he screams in pain, falling to his knees. Sahan walks up to him, staring at him coldly. He then pulls out his fan. Seeing this, the owner stammers, "How did this happen?" Calmly walks up to him and coldly says, "Actually, I was the one who poisoned all of you." He then sits back on his chair, smirking. "I knew you'd understand. After all, when meeting strangers, we must be cautious." "Isn't that what you said?" The owner, panicked, thinks, "But when did this bastard do all this?" Sahan closes his fan and tucks it into his clothes before turning to leave. The owner, desperate, shouts, Wait, why did you do this to me? We had no enmity. This is the first time we've even met. Hearing this, Sahan coldly replies, weren't you the one who tried to poison me first? Realizing his own mistake, the owner slams his hand on the ground in frustration. Sahan leans in close and whispers, when poisoning someone, never get caught, because the punishment is always death. He then asks, did I say anything wrong? The owner, terrified, gathers his courage and says, if you kill me, the Ash Blood Sect will become your enemy. Hearing this, Sahan mutters, oh, the Ash Blood Sect. The owner quickly adds, yes, this night parlor is under the Ash Blood Sect, but if you let me live, I promise to forget all of this and never speak of it to anyone. The owner watches as Sahan remains silent. Thinking Sahan is scared, he smirks inwardly. Looks like this brat got frightened after hearing the Ash Blood Sect's name, but this fool doesn't know that Sahan's greatest enemy is the Ash Blood Sect itself. Then Sahan asks, do you know the sword dancing group? Hearing this name, the owner panics and wonders, why is he suddenly bringing them up? Sahan, with a deadly expression, says, before this parlor, the sword dancing group used to be here. Just then, the parlor captain sees a chance to strike and launches a sudden attack. But before he can land a hit, Sahan effortlessly dodges and injures him without even using a weapon. The terrified captain thinks, who is this monster? Even when distracted, he countered my attack. Meanwhile, the owner, seizing the distraction, charges at Sahan with a knife. In the next scene, we see a slash. The owner is split in two. Sahan, with a chilling tone, says, who told you to move? The captain, witnessing this, starts trembling in fear. Sahan looks at him and says, if you want to join your master in hell, attack me. Seeing the captain's terror, let's end today's episode here.